The Mickey van der Ven and Djed Spence incident after Tottenham's game against Chelsea. Spurs believe that Djed Spence and Mickey van der Ven ignoring Thomas Frank after full-time vs Chelsea wasn't a slight on Frank, but instead more of a show of frustration of what had developed and a build-up of negativity from fans at their home stadium over previous weeks. Well, the news for them is the reason why fans were annoyed after previous weeks is because Tottenham fans have only seen their team win 3 times in the last 19 games at home. So if you can imagine going an entire season just winning 3 games at home, that's not right. You know, especially when we look back at the Pochettino days when we hardly dropped a point at home. We didn't lose at home that season. We had the best goal difference in the league. And coincidentally, that was the final season at White Hart Lane, you know, which was meant to be the foundation for change when we moved to stadiums, but obviously it's just declined. It just felt that the whole new stadium, it came at such a bad time, even though it was the right time, if that all makes sense. But yeah, the fact that players can have this sort of grudge and resentment for the fans for being negative just doesn't really sit right with me, because the fans are the ones that are paying for the season tickets, which are the most expensive in the Premier League. Obviously haven't seen their team win much at all and just play some of the worst football that they've seen in years. And just what we saw on show was not good at all. We're chasing a game and we're not having shots. We're chasing a game, we're not pushing forwards. You know, we're chasing a game and every single cross is catching practice for the goalkeeper. Every single free kick is going short and then passed back to the goalkeeper. That's why fans are groaning, because we've seen it all before. You know, nothing was inspiring, nothing was new. And I mean, this glare from Thomas Frank at the 2 players says it all. You know, he's got his tactics. You know, they might not be perfect, but these players aren't playing to how these tactics are set out to be. You know, neither are fully to blame, but they're both at fault. So pushing on with this, we've seen that Udogie is fit again. He came on during the end of that game, so you'd assume now that Udogie will be the starter against Copenhagen and Spence will drop to the bench, which, you know, I mean, these two have apparently apologised, but that feels like the right kind of course of action to take there. And Van der Ven, I don't think he'll see the captaincy again for a while, even though he is in that leadership group still. But that works perfectly with Romero coming back as well. But, you know, you would still imagine Van der Ven to start still, because obviously best lineup. But, you know, if it's not something you want to see from your captain on the day, just storming off the pitch and, you know, not showing any kind of recognition to the fans at all, especially when we're the ones that have had to sit through that and you're unhappy that the fans were unhappy with what we saw. You know, the beginning of the game there was a good atmosphere going, but it all just kind of came down after what we were beginning to see, and obviously the Lucas Bouvou injury as well. So, you know, fans can play their part in creating an atmosphere for the players to bounce off, but it works both ways. The players need to show something on the pitch which is worth supporting, because at the minute, you know, it's quite uninspiring.